a certain function called the COUNTIF and COUNTIFS function. Okay, the COUNTIF and COUNTIFS. All right, the COUNTIF and the COUNTIFS function. Okay. Now, the COUNTIF and COUNTIFS function are functions that are used to return a certain quantity of a product or whatever you want to count in an organization. You could decide to count the numbers of employees, you could decide to count the numbers of female employees, you could decide to count the numbers of a certain product, or you could decide to count the numbers of certain region in a set of data. Okay, and if you use the normal count that we did when we did formula, you will notice that it counts the entire set of data without setting condition. Okay, but with the COUNTIF and COUNTIFS function, you could attach condition and be able to get a certain result and not the entire result. Now remember, the count has a limitation. It doesn't count test, it only counts value. So if I should select this set of range here, all right, and say enter, you see it returns 0. Why? Because there is no value in that set of data. All right, but let's consider the count again, and then this, enter. You could see there are 8 what? There are 8 numbers there. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Why? Because the count returns values for only numbers and not text. Okay, but if you want to do the count with numbers, you use the count A. Remember, and you could see it has returned 8. Okay, but there's still limitations with this count function, these count formulas or functions, because it counts the entire data. So if you have a large set of data, it will just count and tell you you have 1,000 data here without actually telling you the specific things you need. But with the count if, go to count if, all right, you could determine what you need. So if I say I want to count certain I want to count the a certain region. In the region area, I want to count a particular region in this particular region. So let's quickly do that. So I'll select this entire data as a range, comma, remember the argument range, and then now it's asking for the criteria. Now I could put a condition somewhere and refer to that particular cell, but I don't want to refer, I just want to put the condition there and say south, and then enter. Now you could see it returned 3 as the number of south in the entire region. Okay, let's look at, we had south for books 1, we had south 2, and then we have south 3. Okay, so we have 3 south regions. Okay, now what if we don't want to just return a certain condition? We could do the same count if for the product. All right, but what if we don't want a certain just one condition, we want more conditions, and that is where the count if condition comes in. All right, count ifs, because it gives us beyond just one criteria, because it allows us to impute more than one criteria. All right, so we have more larger arguments. Now the argument says criteria range 1. Now the criteria range 1, I want it to be books, comma, I want to select under books, I want to select backs. Okay, so backs, type that. Always remember to include your quotation mark in order to get result for test. Okay, comma, so criteria range 2, I want the region. All right, that is the criteria range 2. Okay, and then criteria 2, I want criteria 2 to be the south. Okay, let me include that, the south. and then enter. You could see it returned 1 as what it counted based on the two, condition. If we look at this set of data, we'll see the first bag is for the west, and then the second bag is for the south. And so that is the reason it returned 1. Okay? So let's look at another condition using the count ifs. All right? The count ifs. Now, one thing you will notice, the count if defies if it is, a test or a number. All right, the count if and the count if defies that rule, unlike the count itself. Okay, so let's pick these criteria again. The products, comma. All right, we want to pick another criteria. Let's say we want the criteria to be books this time, comma. All right, criteria range 2, we want it to be the region, comma, and then we want the condition to be south. Let's include south. Okay, and then comma, criteria range 3, we want it to be on sales, and then comma, and then the criteria, we want the criteria to be our product equal to, let's say, 160, let's say 204, right? And then enter. So you see that it returned 0, okay, because there was no criteria based on books that was 204 in the southern region. Okay, if we should change this region from south to west, okay, and say enter, you see it returned 1, because under that condition, west has 1 based on the third criteria, 204. So this is how you can count a large set of data and be able to get information, either employee ID, either the date of an employee, count a certain, number of people, number of new employees, based on whatever criteria you want to. It could be based on certain region or based on certain tags like customers ID. So in order to get the expired on date, remember we have the manufacture date and we have the expiring date. Okay, so in order to get it, we just say equal to addition, the summation of the manufacture date plus the expiring date. Okay, or you can use the sum function. All right, you could use the sum function and then first number and then comma second number. Okay, and then enter. Okay, so we just autofill the others. All right, so I just use the sum function that you learned. Okay, I use the operators and I use the sum function or formula, and these are the data we have gotten. So we've finally sorted the expiring date of this product. Okay, so this is sorted. Now, what about the status of it? We want to know if it has expired or not. What function can we use for this? Now, remember we could use the if function. All right, so we'll be using the if function. So what is our logical test? All right, what is our logical test? In order to be able to give this thing a status, all right, to be able to include the expired, we have to consider two elements, and that element is the expired on date and the today's date. Okay, so we'll say the today's date, all right, greater than the expired on date. Okay, if today's date is greater than expired on date. Now remember, we have to lock the cell of today's date. All right, we have to lock it using F4. Okay, so that cell is locked. all right, and we can leave the F3 cell, which is expired on cell, to interchange, but the today's date does not interchange, it stays the same. All right, so if that is greater than that, we want it to return expired. All right, want it to return expired. And if false, we want it to return something different. We could say you should return not expired. All right, you could tend to write that and it will still be good. Okay, but I want it to return a date. If it happens that it is false, I want it to return a certain date, and that date I want is this. All right, minus this. I want it to return such date back to me. Okay, and enter. All right, so we could see that the first one has expired. Remember, 31st January 2022 and 20th October 2023. So with that, we just autofill, and we could see that majority of these products, or almost every one of these products, are expired. Okay, so this is how you solve problems like this. Now, you may ask, can it always be greater than? The answer is no. We could switch it, but remember, you must keep your mathematical rule in place by saying if F3, if F3, by choosing F3, let's go back, F3, no, not F, yeah, F3, if F3 is less than, then we pick our date. All right, and ensure to lock that with F4. If F3 is less than, so I've switched it to if F3 is less than, and then enter, and you can still see that we had expired. So you could see I use greater than and less than, but one rule is that I ensure that the mathematical formula is very correct before I did that. Okay, so we have autofill this, and you could see the status is expired. So with this data now, I've told my company that every one of these products has expired, and the expiring date of every one of these products are all of these. So if a company should make a product and they want to determine what the expiring date is going to be in the next 30 days, in the next 15 days, in the next 20 days, depending on the product, with Excel, you can easily tell the expiring date for these companies to easily see it and fill it into the product they are manufacturing. Now that we have this, we've solved the table problem, but then we are asked to profile solution to the items that are expired. Are we together? And also the quantity of the items that are expired, and then the amount of the items that are expired. Now, in order to get the items that are expired, we are to use the condition count if function. Remember, there is a condition now. All right, so we select the range would be on this. Okay, the range will be this downward. All right, the range will be this downward. Okay, so control and then spacebar. All right, so that is our range. And then the criteria, what is the criteria? The criteria is expired. All right, I can just type that, expired, and then enter. So we have 349 items that are expired. 349 items are expired. Okay, so what in a situation if this let's put a new date somewhere and see if there will be a change. So um let's place let's place a separate date here. Okay, let's say this is 2023. Enter. Okay, let's say this is 2023, and then enter. So it is 12th January 2023. So we want to change it from January, we want to put it on 11th. All right, we want to put it on 11th. Enter. You could see that there is a change in our data. Okay, you could see that there is a change in our data. All right, there's a change in our data. Enter. We told it to tell us is the date of K10 minus F8. K10 minus F8. Now, it will be returning a negative, value. Okay? It will be returning a negative value on that. Let's say we decide not to put that and we say, okay, it should return not not expired, and then enter. So you could see that that particular place is showing not expired, but this is not what we want. So I just did that to show you how this thing would work, and met there's any alteration in the data, you will see that it will affect whatever result you are getting. Okay, so expiring in 7 days, let's do that counting. All right, let's do that counting. Equal to count. All right, count if open bracket, what is our range? What is our range? This still remains our range. All right, criteria 7, it return 0 back to us. Why? Because there is no 7 in that criteria. There is no 7 in that criteria. Okay, and then the next is equal to count if also, and then the range is also the same, and then comma criteria. I've not selected the range, so let's select the range. The range is this, and then comma the criteria is 15. All right, and then enter. It still returned 0. The reason we said K5 minus F3, so that in case there is a date that will fall into 4, 5, we could be able 7, we could be able to get this. But since every of the product are expired, we got 0, 0 there. Okay, now let's look at the quantity. Now, what do we use for the quantity? Quantity has to do with summation. So if we're looking for quantity, therefore we'll be looking for summation, because this is no longer about the items anymore, which is count, but the quantity. So we'll be using the sum if condition. Remember, there is a condition. So we'll be using the condition. Now, what is our range? What is our range? Our range here is going to be on expired. Okay, that is going to be our range, because we are working on with the expired. So the range is going to be on expired, comma criteria. What is our criteria? Our criteria is expired. So we impute that expired, and then comma. Okay, what is our sum range? Our sum range is the quantity range, and then enter. So we could see that 68,384 is the quantity of expired product in all of these data sets. Now, what is the amount? Excuse me. Now, what is the amount? It is equal to sum ifs, open bracket. What is our range? Our range also remains this. Okay, and then comma. What is the criteria? The criteria is still expired. Expired. All right, that is the criteria, comma. What is the sum range? The sum range has to now do with the amount rather than the quantity this time. So we'll come and select the sum range, select a cell, and then control space bar. All right, and then enter. So we have 5,128,800 amount of goods that are expired in this set of data. Okay, now what is the quantity of of products that are expired in 7 days? We still use the criteria sum if, then open bracket, arrange would be on expired, this status, all right, majorly, not just expired now, but the status, because if there's anyone that will be expiring, will be as that will if there's anyone that will be expiring in the next 7 days, we could see it there, all right, comma, what is our criteria? Our criteria is 7. What is the sum range? The sum range is also quantity. Enter. It is 0. All right, and is if we do the same for this, we would also get the range is under status, comma, the condition is 15, which is our criteria, and then the sum range of the quantity is still that. Enter, and then we have 0. Okay, then the amount is also equal to sum ifs. Remember, a condition being given now, that range, comma, all right, what is the criteria? The criteria is 7. Okay, and then the sum range is, the amount range is that. Enter, and then we got nothing for that, which is 0. Okay, and then let's quickly do that for the last one. Sum ifs, sum if, not ifs, because we have just one condition. Yeah, we have just one condition. So the range is this space bar, comma, and then criteria, our criteria is 15, comma, and then sum range is the amount. Enter. Okay, so with this now, we've been able to determine the amount of product that would expire, that are expired, and we get that to be 349 items with the quantity of 68,384, with an amount price of 5,128,800 naira, with an amount price of 5,128,800 naira. So with this now, what if we should give a pictorial, diagram to whatever we've done here? Yes, we can give a pictorial, diagram to this, and that is what we will be doing shortly. So I want to highlight a certain, set of this data. Okay, I want to highlight this particular area. I won't be merging, I will just add color to the background of this, of this data. I'll just add a background color. What color? Okay, so let's work with this color. All right, okay, Control Z. Let's work with a different color. Let's work with, think this color is closer to the blue here. All right, so let's work with this color. All right, now we want a pictorial, representation. So to add a pictorial diagram, you go to insert, and under the insert, go to chart group, and you can see a pie chart there. So I'm bringing in a pie chart. All right, and you could see now on this pie chart there are no data specified yet. Okay, there is no specified data on this pie chart, and I want to add data to it. All right, so what do? You go to this select tab under design, and then under design data group, you go to the select data, and so under the select tab, you go to, we don't want the entire the entire data, so I'm going to delete that, and then we just need to show these expired items. Okay, and I have done that. So I want this to reflect, the amount. I want that to reflect the amount. Okay, and then now you could see that 349, products are expired. 349 products are expired. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have seen that 349 stuff are expired. Okay, so that is what we have seen. All right, that is what we have seen. So we've seen the expired and then the quantity right there. Okay, so we've seen that. um so now you could see the 349 outside. If I want to make it appear on the chart, you could see it has already appeared on the chart. So if I want it to be the best fit, all right, choosing best fit, you could see it there, 100% best fit, then outside, inside, and then data call out using, this thing, and then center wherever. So if I'll leave it on best fit, okay, and then I go back. So you could see how I've included that into a table. Now if I want to format this, and I just I don't need this extra. I think this darker color works better. It is more visible and anyone could see that. Okay, so in order to also do for the others, we'll go to the insert tab again, and then bring in another chart and all that. Now in case you don't want to go through the stress of doing adding and adding, you could go to recommended chart. So I want to select this now, selected, and then I'll go to recommended charts. All right, and they are recommending the clustered kind of chart to me. Okay, but I can go to all charts and decide to pick the kind of chart I need, and then I'll click on OK, and uh, and then I can move this over here, reduce it, and add whatever things I think is not there. Okay, everything has been specified. I will edit this and pick the range of what I need in particular, and I say okay. All right, and then and that is that. Expiring in 7 days, I have this empty chart. Okay, it is 0, and I could choose the same size. Okay, and then adjust that there. Let's copy and then paste. Okay, so I just copied that particular data and I paste that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to format this new data to work on the shape. Double tap and then go to shape option. This is fill and line, this is effect, and then this is size and property. So I want to look at this particular size and property, go to the size, and then height is 242 by width of 246. So I can go to this particular data, go there, and then do that 242 by 246. All right, and that is that. So you could see that everything is now the same. All right, the same. Okay, so we could do the same for the last uh, graph, the last uh, pie chart. So this is what you do. You could do the same for the last pie chart and get it to fit into that. Just double tap and go to the size, and then 242 and then 446. Okay, so we've got that as well. Not change this data, so we want to change this particular data to what we want. Okay, so you come back to design, another design, select data, another select data, you want your range, and then you pick this to this, okay, and then you say okay. So you could see that now. And then the chart title, you go to select, and then we want to edit this, and then impute the chart title as expiring in 15 days, okay, and then okay. So you could see it now, expiring in 15 days, 0% and all that. So this is how you can represent your data in a visual format. Okay, now we'll still be looking in depth into charts later on, but for the sake of this, our part work, we had to do this to make it visual. So instead of them seeing a lot of write-ups and all that, they could easily see the major thing, which is the expired items, those expiring in the next 7 days, those that will expire in the next 15 days, and all of that. Okay, and then finally, what about if we want to represent the amount of this data? We've only represented the expiry date. What about if we want to represent them based on item, quantity, and amount? So to do that, you go back to the insert. So let's provide a visual representation uh for this data based on quantity and amount wise. Okay, so for quantity, just select this range, hold your shift key, your control key rather, and select the quantity range, and then come to insert. All right, so in the other ones I taught you how to impute the chart yourself, the bar chart or whatever representation you want to use. But now let's use the recommended chart. So we have this set of recommended charts, and I want to go with this last one. Okay, and that is okay. So bring this down and reduce the size. Okay, remember I taught you how to format the size. All right, you just hold and you come to this text property, then you come to size and format it to suit the others, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I will just let me come down. Okay, so this is how you represent data for your organization, and instead of them looking at the major table, they could easily see the entire detail from your chart. Okay, so let's title this quantity wise. Okay, and I could change the color of that to this, change the color to this. Okay, and then on that design, change this design to black, suit what we're doing. Okay, so, and I can then change this color finally to this. All right, and we could see, in case we want to show any parameters, come under data label, and right there we have that. Okay, so we have the value at the top already. Okay, so we could also do the same for this. So let's do that for recommended. So using the recommended chart, and we'll pick that, and it is easy. Now the purpose of recommended is to, one, save you time, and then two, if you don't want to format yourself, and then three, if you know you don't have the time to do your formatting, you don't have the time to build your chart yourself, then you could use the recommended chart, and it's also great, also a great stuff, but it can make you very lazy. All right, so we have this data, and let's change the title to amount wise. Okay, now let's use this width. What's this width? Let's check that. We have 42, 36. Let's work on this quickly. 42, then 36. Okay, so that is done, and let's quickly change the under design. Can you see that? So this is also a representation we could use. All right, but there are certain things are not there. There are different designs you could pick from. All right, but let's stick to this to the end of the training. Okay, and let's cancel this and remove format settings out of this. So I want to remove the grid lines, and in this data I want to ensure it is outside like that. And then for this, take away the grid lines under data label, under grid lines, take it out, and we have that. Okay, so with this we have our entire information represented in a table format. Okay, we have our entire data represented in a table, and we could just show this to the organization and they would understand whatever we've gotten here based on the product. 100% tells them it is the entire product that are bad. So we've come to the end of formulas and function. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask. Ask either in the support group or ask me individually.